All right, hello. Let's go. Let's get started. Um, uh, Start things off. I'm gonna give a little bit of background on what's going on here and tell you why I'm streaming. So, first off, my name is Jason. I work in the developer relations, developer experience space. So, very much care about how things work, and I have wanted to go and try out some new technologies, some new tools that are out there, and just see how they work. Um, I'll come back to that in a few moments. From a code of conduct standpoint, I am streaming this live for other people to view. Whether other people view or not is not really the point from my perspective, at least. If you get some entertainment out of this, that's wonderful. For me, I'm using it for something to review and take a look at later on. But I do want to call out a couple of things. I am trying products and tools and libraries that were created by other people. So I do strive to be kind. I'm not here to make any disparaging comments about anything, even if you see me struggle using something or getting confused. This really is intended to be a little bit more growth oriented, right? I don't really have a vested interest in some of these tools other than wanting to have a good experience myself. So if anything, I want any of these products to have a really smooth onboarding for me. And with that in mind, good developer experience is really hard to achieve. So I just want to acknowledge that, a lot of times, if I can point out the things that are going really, really well from a developer experience point of view, and in some cases, there might be more aspirational statements of things that could be smoothed out for help the next person that comes along. So the purpose behind me talking here is really inspired by an API Days talk. This sort of has a history back in the communications marketing sense. You have 3 seconds to get someone's attention. Well, this was applied toward APIs or developer experience in his talk, saying that you really only have 3 seconds to help someone understand what the API is for, like what problem it solves. 30 seconds for that person to be able to figure out how to get started, like at least find the entry point, and then 3 minutes to be able to create an account, execute a call, and use the result. Some people might refer to this metric as time to hello world. I think 3 minutes is very aggressive. Some people might say 5 minutes. For me, I'm just sticking with the theme and saying I'll allow for 30 minutes or so. I'm going to stream. In many cases, I'm going to continue exploring products as well and share a little bit more of what my insight is after the fact, after spending maybe a day with the tool. But what you're going to see live is the first 30 minutes or so of me exploring and seeing what it's all about. So the way I'm going to do that, and actually I'm going to do this in reverse order today, and I'll update the slides for next time. But there's this notion of customer zero, the idea that if you're evaluating developer experience, you really want to test something end to end. It's not just about throwing something over the wall and testing in production, but trying to find someone, hopefully within your own organization, to try things out, or trusted people who can say like, hey, yeah, no, this is I can succeed by signing up for this application and coming in. Anyone who works on the product or even someone in quality control is kind of biased. Like they know too much to be effective and look at something through the eyes of a newbie sometimes. Really the spirit of this is to remove that curse of knowledge. I also like to really come up with unexpected use cases or things that mirror real world scenarios of trying to create something, even though I may not necessarily be trying to create something. So a lot, I don't always have a perfect like, oh no, I'm actually going to try to use this for my business or the company. This has nothing to do with my day job. In that sense, it is a little bit of a simulation. But really, what I'm trying to accomplish is friction logging. And so the notion here is to keep a log. So some people do this just with like a document, taking notes. And the idea of friction is it's anything that causes frustration or where things are complex or seem unnecessary, anything that's not easy to understand, or if you just don't know what to do next, right? If you get stuck and you're scratching your head, that's the stuff that um, falls under this umbrella of friction. And the reason that's important is, yeah, if something works, that's great. But when it doesn't work, or it does works in a way that you're almost angry that you were able to get it to work, that's friction, and that really has a big impact on whether someone will adopt or use a product or not. So, ways of doing this is including new members, or again, bringing in someone from outside to do more or less a usability test for a developer product, and then learning from that friction, right? Taking, if you do this with more than one person, or the same people keep tripping up on the same thing and it slows them down, again, 3 minutes, super aggressive. But if I can't get to a successful outcome after a day, that's definitely on the far end of the curve. So, things change as well. That's why I say this is hard work. These are complex systems. Things will change, but this last point is, sometimes it's easier to record the session, and that's what I'm doing here. Yeah, I'm streaming it live. Maybe someone will hop on and give me a pointer or a comment or ask a question that confuses them about the onboarding experience, and I think that will add to the experience. But fundamentally, sometimes when I've done this in real life, is just I jump into a meeting with myself, hit record, and then just go at it and speak out loud about what I'm seeing, where I'm confused, and things like that. And then afterwards, you can go in and code, okay, here are the action items to actually go and improve this onboarding experience. So, anyways, I am doing this at 3:30 p.m. again in that 3:33 sort of spirit. I am streaming it out between Twitch and YouTube. I'm trying to do different shows on different platforms as well, and including some of the hackathons and other things I'm working on these days. I have a, let's be honest, it's a URL, but it's really a markdown file, a text file online that has the schedule. Today, I was going to look at Google Vertex. I've heard about it. I have used other Google Cloud products and tools, but I've never used Vertex. I don't really know a whole, I mean, other than the general space it's in. But after that, likewise, going to go look at Atlassian Forge. I've used other Atlassian products, but I don't know anything about Forge. I may not have an account that works. And then another company and tool that I heard had some really good documentation. Kind of wanted to see how that works, is Monite. So as you can see, it's a mix of some of the big tech companies as well as other tools that I just heard and I want to try out and see what I can learn from it. So with that all in mind, let's go. We're going to try Google Vertex and see how far we get. Let's go ahead and search Google Vertex. I know, what do I know about it? I know it's, an AI tool. I've done a few things recently. There is also a hackathon I was looking at. I decided not to enter, but I still wanted to learn something about the different technologies, and Google Vertex was one of the ones that was listed as a sponsor. So immediately searching, there are some ads and things like that. Probably some folks who are in the competitive space, and maybe those are, Pinecone, Pecan. Maybe those are ones that I should try out another time. But for now, Vertex AI. I usually start with searching because, it's, again, I might only have a nugget of a name, or maybe someone gives me a URL or talks about it in a blog post, or maybe it's, something that flies by on social media. And sometimes that results in coming in not through the top front door. A lot of times, when people build websites and docs and stuff, they might assume, oh, of course you went to Google Cloud and you know everything about Google Cloud before getting here, which may or may not be the case. So what do I find from this site? A lot of the Google sites I've seen before, so they look pretty similar. Innovate faster with enterprise-ready generative AI. So that is the space I thought this was in. AI solutions, search and conversation, 100 plus foundation models, unified AI platform. I think there's a few questions I have, which is, can I train my own models? Can I pick and choose some that are more specialized? Those are the types of things I'm curious about. Um, Fully managed is something I also find appealing. Like, I'm not looking to go out and do AI ML research to build anything per se, but there might be other resources out there that maybe I just want the compute from Google Cloud, or whatever that management gives me. Open and integrated AI. So notebooks, I'm assuming something like Jupyter notebooks. I don't know. AI training and prediction. Okay, so this suggests I might have to do some training in order to use it. Um, Search and conversation. So chat applications. Not necessarily what I'm looking at. AI solutions. Okay. Interesting. So to put a little bit of color around what I'm coming in with a mindset of, two projects I worked on recently just for fun. One was taking email messages as a thread and going through all the text and then trying to generate a summary. So more of a text summarization as opposed to a generative side. I also did one recently that was more on the generative side. It said, hey, given some prompts, can I generate a legal document? So I think the legal document is kind of one of the use cases that I have in mind. Like I'm thinking like a statement of work or MSA that I want to be able to start generate based on the needs somebody expresses for building a tool. Um, so that's kind of where my mindset is, and now I'm trying to figure out whether this can help me just to give a little bit of color behind the persona and what my use case or objective is. Okay, so I see a lot of stuff. I can see I can try it for free. I can contact sales. Of course, I want to see it first. Um, so I guess I get some credits. I will go ahead and do that. I will need to put in a credit card, it would seem. So I'm going to take that off screen. Sorry. Here. Yeah. So I think there is a lot of truth when onboarding to a tool about reputation, right? So in this case, I'm thinking, well, yeah, I'm okay with putting a credit card into Google, and that I could probably cancel this should I need to. For other companies, maybe I haven't heard of yet, or they don't have any, authority in my mind as trustworthy. Again, not that they wouldn't be trustworthy. I might be less inclined to put in a credit card just because I don't know what's going to happen out the other end of that. Or, I go run my first AI application, don't know what I'm doing because I'm trying to learn, and then suddenly I get hit up with $1,000 bill, which may or may not be, a problem depending on what I know or whether I would actually fall into that scenario. So sometimes I like to know a little bit more before I commit to it, and I'm actually going to do that here. While that, it's saying it's going to give me Google Cloud credits, those sorts of things. I mean, effectively, that's what I'm signing up for is Google Cloud, not just Vertex. So I've kind of gone through the product highlights. I kind of wish I could see what the results look like, but maybe even before signing up, again, if this wasn't Google, this would be some of the validation I'm going to be doing here, right? So Vertex AI is a machine learning. I want to see what it looks like. I want a little bit, what am I actually getting? Am I just getting, a cloud compute instance and a data store? That's not maybe something I need to sign up for. So let's see. Google does a pretty consistent navigation overview, guides, generative AI, reference, samples, support, resources. So I'm kind of curious what they say over here. Here's a try it yourself. So, the ability to try things is really useful to me. I do like when there's things like I can say that whether or not something's helpful or send feedback. I don't often, but I always figure somebody somewhere hopefully appreciates the time I put in if I run into some problems. Let's see. So set up a project. So before you can try the text prompts, set up a project and a dev environment. So I can't really try this yet without signing up for an account and putting in a credit card information. Which is okay, not a deal breaker, just something for me to consider. So there is a video, and again, sometimes videos Sometimes I'm not in a place that I can listen to the audio. So, like in an instance like here, I'm streaming, so I can't really. I mean, using a different tool, I could pipe the audio through so that you could hear too at the same time as me. But I'm not set up to do that right now. Likewise, if I'm in a busy office and I don't have headphones, or even if I did, I may not want to do that. But sometimes the videos could be useful to see like the workflow, especially around dashboards or user interfaces. That can be a little bit more effective than a lot of documentation with just screenshots. But I don't see that in this video, so it might be more of a conceptual introduction. So there is a Python SDK. Um, okay, so data preparation, model training, model evaluation, iteration, model serving, model monitoring. Okay. So I think I'm still at this point of trying to understand um, whether or not this is giving me the end, generative solution from which I can almost from a menu pick, hey, this is the model I want to use. And then with a lot of things like this, you might anchor and adjust based on something So, like I've used Hugging Face Inference API. So, is it like that where I just find the right model that I want to execute and I'm off to the races, um, or like OpenAI where it's literally it's the thing. It's just an API to use the thing, or is this here's your box of Lego bricks. You're gonna have to go figure it out on your own how to assemble them. So I don't know what stage this is yet. Looking through this way of describing it from an introduction perspective of data preparation, model training, model evaluation and iteration, model serving, suggests for a much more complex application, right? Like I'm not going to be using this like an API that I'm going to integrate into my SaaS kind of business. This is probably something a little bit more intensive if I'm training some custom data that I'm gathering from who knows whatever sources. So if I go back to some of my use cases, yeah, maybe I have a bunch of documents around MSAs or statements of work that I want to be able to do, and I can use that to do the custom training. Okay, that's sort of where my mindset is on what this can do. Um, Continuing to look through just to see a little bit more what's here. Um, Sorry, I was considering whether there was another option that would let me start for free without putting in the credit card, but yeah. Um, Partially, I think my hesitation is just I don't have my wallet in front of me, so I would have to go get it, or see what else I can do. One of the things I do like about the sign up sheet, it was on the screen briefly, but I already took it away. But um, the way they're positioning it here is you have 90 days and $300 in credits to explore. Um, and there's no auto charge after the free trial ends. It's called out on the screen, which personally I really appreciate here. Let me move that back a second. Because that was my hesitation, right? Is that you sign up for a subscription service, you try it out. I decide, okay, this is not solving the problem for me, and then I have some spun up instance of a thing that's out there accruing charges every day, and I'm not paying attention to it. So this gives me a little bit of reassurance that it's like, hey, look, the credit card is for identity reasons, not necessarily billing. But of course, the billing afterwards, so it depends on, how far along you are in that journey. So for me, I'm still evaluating several tools to figure out which one's actually going to solve my real problem, um, as opposed to me saying, "Oh, I'm all in on Google Vertex already," right? Like, I'm just committed to doing it. I'm still in evaluation stage. So the idea of putting in a corporate credit card or something at this point may not make sense. And of course, a lot of, I don't know, other ML AI devs that have a credit card to even put in the first place, or is it the scenario already you need to get someone at a manager, director, some other level to be able to go in and do that. It's unknown. Okay, so on one moment, I'm gonna, because I think I'm not gonna get very far without doing sign in. Any. Okay, so I have done that. Now we can see the dashboard for the first time. Let's see, what does this look like? So already it's pretty busy, but I do appreciate also that, it was very clear I was signing up for Google Cloud because I didn't have a Google Cloud account already in place here in this browser. So, but it's taken me back to something that has the context of, well, wait, here's getting started with Vertex. It's a dashboard that makes sense for what I'm trying to do. One of the first things, I'm kind of, so actually I might have done this too quickly off screen, but there is a create my first project, um, which is good to see that maybe that is going to guide me where to start, because otherwise there's a lot going on here already. I'm starting with tools, dashboard, model garden. I guess that's where I grow my models, pipelines, I don't know, data pipeline of some sort, probably. For enterprises that need to collaborate, that's there. Workbench, not sure what that is, but maybe it's a workbook, notebook kind of thing. I can collapse that, but let's see, everything starts expanded so I can see what's all out there. Generative AI Studio, which is, there is a design choice there. I mean, I think having them open by default is useful just because I can see what's there, even though it does feel a little overwhelming right now, just because I don't know where I want to start. Like do I start with the model garden down here, or do I start in model development? Do I already have to pull in a known data set? Yeah. But anyways, here I am at the dashboard. I think this also is useful. It was one of those things moments before, jumping on the generative AI bandwagon. I wasn't sure how end user is what's going to be here. This I think really does maybe make it a little bit clearer. Vertex AI empowers machine learning developers, data scientists, and data engineers to take their projects from idea to deployment. So that really narrows down who this is for. So if I'm a front end web application developer who's trusting Google's generative AI in the back end, that's not, I think that's not what I'm getting anymore from this. Um, so I might at this point decide, oh, I got this far, but maybe this is not what I'm looking for. Or on the flip side, if I were to say, oh, I do have enough data. So um, let's say I do have a bunch of transaction data, and I want to do some analysis on that, which generates based on previous work projects. I might have an idea here, but let's see tutorials. Ooh, so URL not found. So, that was a little problem. And then wait, now I'm going to Google Cloud Home. So now it's got me kind of lost. So let's go back to okay. So what did I do? Leave this tutorial. Okay. So I just signed up. I landed on the dashboard. I want to view tutorials. Okay. Well, that time it worked. It's one reason I record sessions or stream, as the case may be, as opposed to just grabbing screenshots because something weird happened for reasons. Um, now getting this error. No, now viewing project, my first project. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Whoa. Now I am back to a Google Cloud like dashboard. So I left Vertex somehow by so to that I got a notification, create a project after creating my account for Vertex the very first time, and now that takes me over here so I can see I have a project and I could go to settings and things like that, but how would I get back to where I was with Vertex? Presumably it's in here somewhere, I would think. I could search for it. Wait, so API is not enabled. The following API is not enabled. Do I want to enable it? I don't know. Okay. So taking a step back for a second, I didn't start a timer this time, but I'm, um, a little under half hour in here now. Um, I have a much better idea what Vertex is. However, I had maybe a wrong impression coming in um, for whatever reason. I think because it was positioning itself as generative AI, I was thinking, hey, this is not a thing I'm going to have to go, okay, train myself or find my own data set and all those sorts of things. I think, maybe that just, however flawed, was in the mindset of, oh, is this some sort of GPT type resource that I can just use, but send it my own query strings or my own prompts. But I'm not getting that feel now that I'm inside. But I did find entry point. The sign up button was clearly marked. It took me to a place. Going through the sign up, I did not get asked a whole lot of questions. I did have to put in a credit card just for identity purposes. I have used Google Cloud a little bit in the past. Maybe if I was already logged in, that experience might be a little bit different. But there seems to be something going on here. I think there's a little bit of this placement of where I am. Um, you know, um, so here's that menu that we saw before, but like where Vertex shows up in this. Oh, this is a bigger one now. So maybe so. There's analytics. Here's AI, Vertex. Okay. That could take me to the Vertex dashboard. So I feel a little bit like I'm starting to get my orientation with how this is all raised. Exploring some of the concepts here. Collab Enterprise, a new notebook experience with enterprise grade privacy and security. Start coding in a couple clicks. Interesting. I'm not sure why this is first. I mean, presumably, it's a tall order if I'm going to be the data engineer, but I'm also doing model development and then trying to make sure it works for the intended application. That is a So I guess I don't know what's going to happen when I click this enable. Is it? I guess we'll do it because it seems to pop up anyway. Okay. So I guess that's, so I might be like, why did I have to enable it when I signed up for it? I don't understand that, but that's okay. I like the tutorial placement here. That is probably the first thing I'm doing as a new user. Once I've gotten in and, if I'm off to races, I obviously would not need that as much. So I could see that there's sort of this toggle for learning. Um, enable all recommended APIs. Would Oh, geez. Whoops. This is where the $1,000 on my credit card comes in. All right, so it's thinking about something. But where I was coming to, so now this, now why did we have the API list hidden by default? I don't know. So there's the Vertex AI API, cloud storage makes sense. The Notebooks API, data flow API, artifact registry, vision AI. So maybe it's class because maybe these are underlying services that also help or complement the work with Vertex. Is that maybe the idea? All right. It is my local time 4:04. So that's my kind of signal. Did I get to Hello World? I don't think I did within 30 minutes already. I did find the entry point, but yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to get started yet. This collab enterprise, maybe for again, enterprise use cases, this makes sense that I'm going to need to set up some collaboration. But this feels like not the thing I would use first. Model garden, browse, customize, and deploy machine learning models. Okay. Generative AI Studio, right? Like this feels like the thing I signed up for to try. So I might want to go and try that now. Let you quickly test and customize models so you can leverage their capabilities in your applications. Okay, so yeah, this is, how do I get to Hello World with Google Vertex? And how much time should I allow to get there? And then let's see what. To get to Hello World with Google Vertex AI, follow these steps. Create a Google Cloud Platform project. My first project exists, so I have done that. Enable the Vertex AI API. We just did that. Create a Vertex AI environment. Maybe I did that. Not sure how I would yet. Create a Jupyter notebook in the environment. In the notebook, import the client library. Create an AI model. Train the model, deploy the model, invoke the model. The amount of time it takes to get to Hello World will depend on your familiarity, which is fair. It may take a few hours to complete all of the steps, but less than an hour if I already know how to use it, which is not really a Hello World at that point. But that's reasonable. Like if I have a new assignment I could go through. So, okay. But, this speaks actually to maybe 2 different use cases, right? Like, I think my expectation was coming in that I would basically be able to see, like, what is the code that lets me do this, right? So I can, here's the Python example, import Vertex AI, give it some parameters, choose a pre-trained model, give it a prompt, check my response. And that's a great place for me to start, I think. Um, and that this is what I would do. I would take a pre-trained model, go see if it gets me results in my application, and then start backtracking and say, well, okay, it does not, but can I access the data set of one of those and then start tweaking it on my own and then develop or iterate on the model? But I'm willing to accept that this is that piece I was hoping to find somewhere, which is okay. I feel like I could get to a hello world. I could wrap this up in a Flask service and just have some generative text generation using um, this text bison project. Now, what is that? Oh, it would be the only thing. Where can I find out more about text bison? Exit without saving. I had to click that quite a few times, didn't I? Available models in the generative AI studio. I think, this generative AI studio was maybe where I was expecting. And there might be a lot of parameters where I can tailor that, which would be really phenomenal if that was the case, right? Like if I could be, looking at the text prompts, but also narrowing it down to, certain parameters that help me get um, exactly what I want. So it's a best value in terms of capability and cost. Gecko. Is there more meaning behind bison or gecko, or it's just labels? Um, okay, so text bison classification, sentiment analysis, summarization. Oh, I should go back in AI Studio and test the summarization thing because that was one of the use cases I had recently. Rewriting text in a different style, ad copy generation to do a bunch of variations could be very helpful for some another project I'm looking at. Um, but I'm kind of happy with where I got at this point. Maybe it took me a little bit more than a half hour. I had a little bit of confusion along the way, but in terms of a hello world and what I was looking for, I think this got me where I wanted to be. And I apologize. I should have long ago made this bigger so that people could see what I'm looking at. I just realized I have been doing that this entire time. Okay. I also like this quite a bit. Um, again, using Hugging Face as a comparison was great in terms of the size of how many models are out there that could just be picked off the shelf and used. If they've already been pre-trained by someone who might have more expertise in a particular domain than me. Um, but this seems like, yeah, a little bit more curated. Oops. Text to video. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here and say that yeah, I think this gets me to a place where I have at least a little bit of a grasp of what it is, and knowledge that it also can grow with me. So like I can use something off the shelf, as a pre-trained model, but then when my needs become a little bit more specialized, there's a path there. I didn't go down that path this time, um, because that's just a much larger project. And probably my level of commitment, if I had that project, is a little bit higher, just because there's only so many places I could go to accomplish that. So, all right, with that, it looks like I got a lot of notifications to read, and we'll continue sort of exploring, playing around with things. Maybe I will actually go and try to take some of data I have and see if I can build a model using the Python notebook, and further explore and summarize what I find. But for now, I think that's it. That's all I'm going to share today. Next time, I'm actually going to go play with no, sorry, um, Atlassian's Forge. So until then, hope you have a good rest of your day. All right, thanks.